we're going to put a double trout rig on, see if there's trout. Yes, yes, we got them. I saw some birds diving right there. What do we got? Whoa! Look at that. I do want to do this, but look how small that is. Yeah, you're right. We'll start with that. Welcome back to M Hood Fishing, everybody. You know where I'm at, right? This is Elmer's Isle, right next to Grand Isle. I'm out here with Rig PFA. Yeah, you're right. Ray's already got spooled and bit off by sharks. And now we are going to do a hard head taste test. That's what this video is about. I've never tried to eat hard head catfish before. Just caught one on a double trout rig. It's kind of small, but maybe it'll taste better. We're gonna try it out back at the house. If we get more, we'll throw more in on this catch and cook. I mean, if we get more hard heads. So we're gonna see what it tastes like. One thing I forgot. I think it's important if you're going to eat a hard head that you bleed them out. So I gotta do that right now. The main reason why you wanna do this is because the main thing that makes a hard head taste bad is the bloodline. So we want to get this blood out of here. I was cutting its gills. So you can see it's already bleeding. It's gonna give me red ice, which is fine. I'm gonna cut both gills. We'll get a little tiny strip of meat off here, enough to get a taste test. And what, you never know, it might put some more hard heads in here. Not too many, man, not too many. So I spent some time trying to get a live bait. There's not much mullet up here. So I have a pompano rig here with some fish bites. It's a mix of shrimp and crab. This is that line that Charlie sent me. Over here I have a croaker rig. It's double rig. The pompano rig is a 3-hook rig. I don't really expect big pompano out here. There are little ones, but you can catch other kinds of fish on it. This one, I'm just gonna fish really close in. There's a trench right here. See if we can pick up some whiting on the fish bites. That's shrimp fish bites right there. Another one. There's actually another hard head in there, so this would make 3. I caught this on a piece of fish bites on what we call a croaker rig. It's basically a double rig with 1/0. Yeah, you're right. We're in the kitchen and we're about to, oh, I'm kind of nervous, guys. Always heard that this fish was just trash, but I believe as long as I pay attention to my process here, it might, I don't know. We're just gonna have to get into it and see. I'm nervous. And that's why we call it a hard head. That plate goes like this, bam, 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 all the way to right here, almost up to the dorsal there. So we're gonna find a place to bring the knife in. Whoa. There we go. Woo. I suspect that the reason why people think this fish doesn't taste good, or when they try this it doesn't taste good, because they didn't cut the bloodline off. But I did bleed this pretty good. I harvested more than one. I don't know why I brought home more than one. What if I absolutely hate this? But I tell you what, look at that meat. Let me get it more visible to you. There's a little blood right there, but that That doesn't look bad. That looks like wet, meaning that it'll rinse off when I get this fillet out. Wondering what it tasted like to people. I've never heard a really good description. I've heard bad. That's what I've heard. I've never heard like if it was gamey or tasted extra fishy. Wow. It starts right here. That head plate goes really far back. There we go. Riding down that rib cage. Yeah, I see the bloodline. That's well pronounced. For the purpose of this video, even though I have 3 of these, this being the bigger one, we're only going to cut this one in the video. Wow. There we go. You could ruin your knife trying to cut, just trying to plunge it in back there. It's tough. It gets easy as you come down the fillet though. So here they are. That is what I'm talking about. That's the bloodline right there. This right here looks like it would rinse out. You know, this meat kind of reminds me of a bullhead catfish. This slight tint to the meat. It doesn't look too bad. It is a darker color than I would prefer my catfish to be, but let's see what it tastes like. Let's just get to that point. Right now I need to cut the fillets off the skin and trim that bloodline, because that bloodline is what's probably going to make it taste bad. And with every garbage fish, when people say it tastes bad, that is mostly opinion. There are some fish that just, again, it's going to be opinion, but you know, the bloodline can make a fish taste gamey or extra fishy. Even some fish, the skin can do that. I'm having to already trim it before I even take the fillet off, because that skin was riding a little high right there to get a good cut. I know if I come in deep, look at that. That bloodline is going to be very pronounced between the skin and the fillet itself. You're going to have a lot of red meat there. So this looks like a small fillet right now. Just wait till I actually trim that red stuff off. And there it is. Ugh. There are some fish that I like that most people in, say, the States would consider garbage fish that have a bloodline like that, and I actually eat the bloodline. The main fish I'm speaking of is the hardtail, which I look forward to getting some soon. So this is what I'm going to do. Look at that. Just slightly trimming it off by riding the blade down at an angle, kind of skimming that off. Throw that to the side. I left some on the edge. I don't want any of it, because I want, like I said, paying attention to the process is probably what is going to make this taste viable, you know, edible, really. We're gonna do that right here. Wow, that bloodline goes deep down in that seam right there. We might just have to cut. And now I have 2 pieces. That's how much I had to trim off, and honestly I probably could have trimmed more off. I got one more to play with. There's everything I trimmed off that one fillet. You know, the other thing that makes a fish a garbage fish isn't just a weird flavor, bad flavor, or whatever. It's also the texture of the fish. Like a lot of people, and this is not from my own experience, but a lot of people find a fish such as a ladyfish to be mushy when you cook it. All right, this time I didn't cut so deep. I left a bit on. You know, most of that red meat is left on the skin. And we're gonna try something different this time. I've turned it over, and we're gonna cut right down the center where the lateral line would have been. To where we're left with 2 strips. I'm going to kind of turn that strip towards the part that I just cut is on the surface of my counter. I'm trying not to bring the blade across the counter itself. And now we're going to turn it back on its side and just gently cut that back. Wow, that looks a lot better than that first one I did. Perhaps that is a better method. Just, you end up with a strip. You got a little bit to cut off right there. Just cut that end off. 2 pieces, one okay size, I suppose, one small. Already feels not worth it because of how much I had to trim off. Yes, it was a small fish. They don't get like absolutely huge. I think even if it was twice the size or 3 times the size of what it was, you still would have had to trim as much off. You would have been left with a little more than me, but you still would have had to do the same amount of work. So I have them soaking in some cold water, and I'm gonna put them back in the fridge and let them soak for a little bit, because I just put them in that. This one here has been in it the longest, about maybe 5 minutes. They're actually starting to lighten up, become a little whiter as they soak in this water. After just about 20 minutes in that cold water in the fridge, they don't look too bad. Not as white as a channel or a blue. Still, it kind of reminds me of a bullhead, so we're going to put some seasoning on here. That might be key to any garbage fish that you're going to eat. Seasoning. That one has salt and pepper in it. I'll show it to you. Been using that a lot lately. Cooking this in olive oil. And these are done. I almost blackened them, which is fine. It smells really good. It kind of smells like I made blackened catfish in the house, just not as smoky. Looks good. Smells good. Sometimes when you're cooking something that's extra gamey, you could smell it when you're cooking it. I don't smell that. Honestly, it does not look bad. First impression, not disgusting. I can actually taste the fish. If you were wondering if I overspiced it, I can taste the fish. I don't taste any gaminess or fishiness. Maybe I would if I would have left the bloodline on, or if I hadn't cut it off as good as I did. Texture, it's a little different than a channel or a blue, but not much. It's not mushy. It's not disgusting, but it's not as good as a blue or a channel. Again, I have to compare it to bullhead. It is similar to bullhead. a lot of guys up north are going to be like, oh, bullhead is so good. I've had bullhead. I just think it's okay, but it might be my opinion. It might be my personal taste. I'm not that crazy about eating bullhead. But again, where I ate bullhead from, the places, I've eaten quite a few bullhead in my life, and every place I've eaten them from was a muddy place. That could be a big difference. You know, maybe you can harvest a bullhead from a cleaner place and it's going to taste better. It's probably the same story with a hardhead catfish. If you went somewhere like down off of Lake Hermitage Road or somewhere and it's always muddy water, yeah, it might taste a little gamier, but again, it's probably more about if you got that bloodline off enough, or if, you know, especially if you did not bleed the fish. I bled this fish. There's another method that I want to try, but I got to get the right stuff, either make it or buy it. It's a Japanese method where you bleed the fish, but at pretty much the same time, you pierce the brain with a spike. The Japanese tool is a hollow spike. Once you pierce the brain, which kills the brain, you insert a wire that goes down through the brain, through the spinal cavity, which kills the nerves, which stops lactic acid building up in the muscles, which makes the fish taste weird. So doing that would even make it even fresher and taste even better. But this does not taste horrible. Not at all. Would I do this more often? No. No. It'll probably be a long time before I eat another hardhead. I would do this if I was absolutely starving and this is all that I was catching. Then I would do this again. And I might even cook it the same way. But I must say, I am enjoying this. Now, there's one thing I'm not enjoying right now. I live in a metal box. We could have a loaf of bread, bacon right here next to me while I'm talking to you. Look, I almost ate it all. Yeah, you're right, guys. Thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, and I'll see you next time.